Welcome everyone to Farmy's Fight Club, and today we have got a great play all 5 game series. It's going to be LaSh versus SaS. With LaSh starting off in Dry Arabia, game number 1 on the right side of the map, playing in blue as the Malians. And his opponent, of course, SaS on the west side, playing in red as the Byzantines. Welcome everyone to Dry Arabia, the classic map that you start off most series. These two players going toe-to-toe in the Farmy's Fight Club. This is the second show match we've had in this series. Hopefully this series will be a long one with plenty of players featuring in it. Today we're focusing on 2 incredibly strong players in LaSh and SaS. Great matchup, the Byzantines versus the Malians. An interesting one as well, because actually in many ways the Byzantines can be very flexible in terms of mercenaries they can choose. They can even choose the javelin throwers as a potential push for the Malians against them, using their own weapons against them. Now the reason why I like this matchup a lot is because both civilizations have a nice little bit of a power spike in the castle age, but we have seen the Byzantines play a little bit different recently, with a bit more sort of an extended feudal age, kind of making the most of their economy, which is of course very much surrounded by or focused on this cistern. Going to have that extra 10% gather rate to start off things like right from the bat. It's incredibly powerful, and that's what really supplies them with a strong economy and then strong military. And the fact that the cistern kind of scales just the economy as well as the military production at the same sort of time, it goes hand in hand very, very nicely. The Malians, of course, they're no strangers to eco. Being able to get the cow boom up and running as quickly as they can be incredibly powerful in that castle age power spike with the Grand Fulani Coral, if that is the landmark that they end up choosing to go with. It means that they end up with an abundance of food, plenty of food, to play around with and use to pump out units in the castle age. Bear in mind as well, they of course they get the passive gold generation, which is something to consider up in terms of map generation and spawn. See, LaSh already got the first pit mine as you'd expect. It's quite far forward, so I wonder if the Byzantines are going to be looked to be aggressive. Now, 2 options really, well, of course there are only 2 options to get to the next stage. You've got the Grand Winery and the Imperial Hippodrome. Query about what they'll look to go for. It looks like it's going to be the Grand Winery, so not really putting sort of excessive pressure early on, but playing sort of towards the eco approach that the Byzantines do like to do. Now, one thing I like and enjoy about the Malians is they can be quite flexible in terms of their cow boom and how fast and crazy they want to go with it, just depending on how many mills they want to get. We do typically see players opt for 2 mills to produce a lot of cows, but there's no reason why they can't stick with 1 if they're under a lot of pressure, and continue with the feudal age aggression as well. They do get some great units that scale super well throughout the game, namely the Donso and the javelin throwers. It's a heavily infantry based army which the Byzantines could counter in the castle age with some siege if it does end up that way. Either way, we're kind of jumping ahead, and it'll be interesting to see how both these players play this. Going on to stone, so SaS certainly looking to get the cisterns up and water level up and running nicely and quickly. Going to be the Mansa Quarry. No real surprises there. Going to get a decent amount of gold passively, and that's going to be what supplies the cow boom potentially here for the Malians. I say potentially, but it's very much a given these days. Very rarely see the Malians not going for it. Now, gold is, of course, the center stone, the centerpiece, the cornerstone of the Malians' economy. Going to need that gold to supply the civilization with food. So cutting off gold is something the Byzantines could be possibly tasked with. Now, the Grand Winery, great landmark for this civilization, could be helping produce those mercenaries nice and quickly. A 60% bonus on the olive oil gathering from the berries and the olive groves themselves. So that's going to be equipping them very nicely for mercenaries. Now, with 4 villages on stone, now this could be either for like a quick tech up in terms of the water level, could even be a second town center, which we don't really see all that often, but interestingly enough, it's got plenty of wood that could be for production buildings. We'll see exactly where SaS is going with this build. Yeah, and today we did make sure and try and look to ensure that the players do pick consistent colors, blue and red, because of course sometimes colors can be a bit difficult to see depending on what they choose, and I've become more to appreciate color blindness actually. I think a lot of viewers have said on YouTube and things about how some colors are actually very difficult to see for them. So hopefully this will make it a little bit easier. Now, second pit mine can be built out here for LaSh relatively soon, and gold will be trickling in. Double broad axe coming in for LaSh, and well, border settlements going to be chosen for SaS, and that's going to give him a nice bit of extra vision and extra range on the house's vision. It looks like he's going to go for a second town center. Looks like he's going to go for the deer and the gold. A nice spot for it, actually. But what's kind of curious about this choice, actually, because LaSh is obviously keeping a very keen eye on it. Now, in the most recent patch, with only 7 garrisonable spots in the town centres, it's often the case that actually people do like to play a bit more of a condensed economy, a bit more safe and secure. And with the scout here now, I think SaS is going to be looking to try and kill some of the deer camp before they get pushed away from the town centre too far. And SaS is going to be up against that cow boom, which is probably going to be starting pretty soon. The first mill is up and running for LaSh. So we're going to be up for like a bit of a eco approach in this game, which I love to see at times. Now, whilst we're not seeing too much feudal age aggression, what that does mean in Age of Empires, I mean, ultimately you can have aggression at one point. It's a calm before the storm. Something's going to be brewing. And I wonder what mercenary house or contract the Byzantines will go up with today. Still gathering a bit more stone. Of course, now we're looking to contain and get more cisterns and connect them up with aqueducts. Now, this town centre is actually quite far forward, so I do worry about the situation. It does have access to the boar as well. So food will be plentiful. I think when you're faced up with a TC prospect like this, it almost feels a bit kind of crazy not to go for it, right? You've got boar, you've got deer, you've got gold, you've got wood relatively close by. It feels a bit of a shame to miss out on that, so it's definitely going to be making the most of it by getting the cistern. Now, he could actually connect that up, but it's quite far, quite a distance. So maybe tier 1 water level would just be enough for the extra 10% on the villagers that are working here. It's definitely a sizable amount. Going to be opening up with the barracks and also adding in an archer range for the donsos and javelins. Mercenary house is going to be the first production building for the Byzantines. Going to be relying on the olive oil coming on in, and we'll see what contract it goes up with. Either way, I hope you guys have been having a great morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're around the world, and enjoying the cast so far, and enjoying this series in particular, because I'm hopefully going to be looking to continue this with, you know, a whole variety of different players going to be battling it out in Farmy's Fight Club. And this is going to be a play all 5, so hopefully we have some great games. We'll go through this Civ draft later on as well. Some good picks, interesting picks. And in terms of maps as well, really cool ones as well. Glade, African Waters, Gorge, and Cliffside are your maps for today after this. And I think African Waters and Glade kind of pique my interest in particular because we don't see many competitive games on those maps. We will today. Donso moving forward. Now, actually look like LaSh is looking to be a bit more aggressive in the feudal age, and yeah, I think this is quite an interesting matchup because both the civilizations have the propensity to do this, and LaSh is not too keen on letting the Byzantines eco up with 2 town centres. Looking to put some pressure on Farmy garrison coming up for the Marnians. So this is definitely different. No cow boom today. He's definitely playing something completely different. Interesting. Going to be packing a punch in that castle age. It's surprising, actually. This has been a long time since we've seen the Farmy garrison, but LaSh is bringing it out on Dry Arabia. And it's going to be pumping out a lot of units pretty quickly after this. Going to be looking to punish that second town centre, right, with how far away it is. It's going to be down to SaS to try and build up a force and hold on for as long as possible. Mercenary House is going for javelin throwers, so he's going to turn the javelin throwers against him. SaS is going to be up against LaSh and the Malians that have been cooking in a different strategy. That's exactly right, Portuguese in Twitch chat. LaSh has been cooking. He's come up with some different strategies in the first game, and I kind of like it. I mean, it's not the typical cow boom we see. It's definitely going to be different. That's for sure. Now, going to pump it out javelin throwers right off the bat. The Byzantines heading forward with the Limitanai. Now, what's kind of interesting is that I think these 2 civilizations probably have access to the best spearman line units in the game. Byzantines with the Limitanai and the Marlians with the Donso. Here comes the first javelin thrower for LaSh. Now, it looks like SaS behind this is going to be walling up, protecting a bit of the lands in the corner. Nothing actually back there in terms of resources. Thank you, Crackety here for the raid. I appreciate it. Hope you had a good stream. I was checking it out earlier. Some good 1v1s and some interesting moments for you, I guess. But welcome, Raiders, coming on in to the show match between LaSh and SaS. This is going to be a banger. It's going to be a play all 5, so we're going to get plenty of games today. But thank you, Crackety. I appreciate you, as always. Now, with the Farmy garrison, it does mean the Marlians will have, they will have a lot of units out quite quickly. Of course, the Byzantines will have an economy that's scaling, so the way that this game is panning out, it does mean that LaSh needs to do some damage, right? He needs to put a bit of pressure on that second town centre. It's going to be down to SaS to try and protect himself. Does have an outpost already in that second town center, so that'll be interesting to see if you can get many more static defenses. I think it's something that's it's overlooked in many ways in sort of diamond level play. Obviously, these guys are much higher than that, way much higher than that, but it's just a comment that I've seen from casting games from different various kind of skill levels. Static defenses can actually be difficult to break down and give you a lot of maneuverability and defensive networks to just push out from. Because SaS now, with a good number of military, he can always fall back to outposts and the town centers if he needs to. But actually, he's maintaining it despite the Farmy garrison production here for the Malians, although that's starting to ramp up a little bit. Of course, he's only just got to the castle age. I wonder whether LaSh will be looking to get some of those relics as well, now that he is in the castle age for that gold income, just to be able to sustain that Farmy garrison as time goes on. Thank you for the bits, APM. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. And that actually goes a long way, by the way, to help me support the next showmatch, because hopefully I'm going to be making a series out of these. And so they're kind of, well, they are self-funded. So, I mean, obviously, they're kind of funded by you guys, just with the community support that you guys are giving. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. I was going to look to try and break down the aqueduct, which will reduce the water level to level 2. That's something that's going to be a bit of a concern for SaSy, because of course the water level, not only does it increase the production speed of the buildings, which is actually what he really wants at this point, the villages are gathering a little bit less efficiently as well. Here comes the engagement. Javelin throws in the back line. Now the Donsters could actually start to throw words a bit difficult for me today, throw their spears and try and get a bit of range attack. It's going to tank on the front lines with this. It's going to be, I mean, this could be an interesting fight actually. Somebody who wins is pretty evenly fought, I gotta say. Soffa popping out, or sorry, Horseman popping out for the Byzantines. Maybe looking to get onto that backline, but gets absolutely decimated by the Donsos from the Malians. A heavy infantry play from both players. Cavalry starts to run on in. SaSy, though, with a bad rally point there, it seems. It feels like LaSh is starting to overrun a little bit, right? The Farmy garrison pumping out 5 units at a time. Things are getting a little bit scary for SaSy. He has a great economy, but needs to pump out units as if he can. I mean, he's trying to get to the castle age himself, so he can get the powerhouse units, but he's kind of struggling to get there with the gold income. Does have this gold income here potentially to try and expand upon. Aqueduct has been taken down, so now down to water level 1, which actually still, incidentally, is not too terrible, you know, 10%. It is pretty front-loaded on the first tier, actually, these days. It used to start off at 5% and then scale pretty well. Oh, SaSy, he's not paying attention. He's losing a couple of villages there. Lost 2. Nice pick-offs there by LaSh with the javelin throws. LaSh is really denying this tech up to the castle age potential here for SaSy. He's going to try and get onto the field. He's going to find another gold source. But this is what I'm talking about. Only 7 garrison spots. This is where it becomes really tricky. They're starting to siege things down. Nothing garrison inside the outpost. SaSy struggling a little bit in this position. Now does have the gold vein here that it could maybe venture out to, but villagers are a little bit further away on that wood line. He's really struggling to get that castle age, and he's going to lose a second town centre. Now, all is not lost, by the way, because he does have the villager lead, but he does need to get to that castle age. I think that's his only way in this fight now at this point. Going to be engaging with the Limit and I, tanking that front line. Horseman, rather. They look pretty similar, actually. But the Horseman dies pretty quickly, as you'd expect going up against the Donsos. But he's just making a run for it. That's all he can do with these villages, actually. SaSy somehow needs to stabilize, but the Farmy garrison, if it's still pumping, it's going to cause him problems, right? It's just a powerhouse of a production building. SaSy backing away now from that second town center position. The lure of all the resources got to him, SaSy, and was a bit more greedy with the expansion of his base and trying to get the olive groves around the Grand Winery. Might need a static defense there, a couple of outposts, but will that be enough? I'm not so sure. It's going to be a bit tricky. Thank you so much, Symbiotic Robot. Appreciate it. Thank you. And he's going to dive in, LaSh, right? He's going to get some villagers here for sure. And SaSy's in all sorts of trouble. At this point, he needs to be pumping out units. And behind all of this, by the way, LaSh is starting to get to the pit mines on the extra gold. So this is going to be a great gold income for him passively, bear in mind. And do I hear the rumblings of cattle? I do. He's making cattle and he's just eating it. Gonna get a second meal as well. SaSy definitely on the back ropes. And still struggling to get to that castle stage. Now it's food. It's a different problem this time. Limit and I pushing on forward. But I think at this point, LaSh can just continue to produce javelin throws and he should be able to do well. There it is then, gentlemen. Game number 1 was a quick one, but definitely an interesting strategy. I think SaSy wasn't expecting the Farmy garrison. I think a lot of us weren't. But a crazy different strategy out there for LaSh popping up with the game number 1. But don't go anywhere. We've got another 4 games to come along the road. as we head into game number 2. Okie dokie, welcome everyone. Game number 2. It's going to be Glade here. Sassy coming in with his home map, picking out the Mongols in the south in red. And we've got LaSh in the north, playing in blue as the Holy Roman Empire. Interesting civilization matchup, of course. Like the Mongols, of course, very typically aggressive on a closed map like this. Could pack a punch, especially if they look to try and get an outpost rush. I mean, is there any doubt in your minds that's going to be the case? It's got to be, right? It wouldn't be the Mongols on this map if it wasn't. Either way, LaSh, though. The gold at the back. I mean, to be fair, actually, scouting this out, Sassy, he might not go for an outpost rush because the gold is so far back. This gold spawn is absolutely fantastic for LaSh. It's so good because it's so far back. It's impossible for... This map is going to be tough for the Mongols, I've got to say, because a fast castle potential here for the HRE does mean, you know, access to relics is pretty simple. And they're very close to each other. It's a small map. Getting the Regent's Cathedral with those relics is incredibly powerful. And this is going to be tough for Sassy. And just the spawn is rough, right? Because the main kind of powerhouse of this civilization earlier on is aggression. And you want to deny the goal for the HRE. It's going to be looking very difficult to do. It's still dropping that barracks, so it's going to be still pumping out aggression. How does he get around this, though? I mean, maybe in the long term, in mid to long term, we can try and just pen him in with some outposts and try and stop it. We'll have to see how much he can manage. Either way, this is an interesting map, by the way. I love the fact that Sassy's picked this, because we don't see this map. Like, I can't remember the last time we've seen this in competitive play. Definitely not on 1v1s anyway, so this is going to be awesome. The HRE, an interesting pick. Now, this has a lot of significance in terms of the next matches as well, because we do have a hybrid map picked, African Waters. And so, obviously, the HRE being a pretty solid hybrid map, I think we can now tell from the Civ draft that we are going to get the Japanese for LaSh on that map. And that leaves Sassy with the Ayubis or the English. Could go for either. Either way, the Ark and Chapel going to be built in an amazing spot, of course. The gold, the deer camp is even going to get the wood involved too. The Mongols going to be kept out. And it means a spearman that he's going to come down with. Going to get the outpost up. I mean, ultimately, you know, it's not ideal that he's not going to get access to denying the gold. But it will mean that the HRE have to deal with this, right? So it will push him back a little bit. Whether it will be enough or not, that's the question that we have on our hands. Either way, from this end, I guess the Mongols were looking to try and deny the relics as much as possible, buy enough time and then get to the next stage themselves. Going to pump out another 2 spearmen. That's an interesting choice. He's continuing to produce more spearmen. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting just 2, maybe just 2 and stay at that, because of course the natural transition for, or not so much transition, but the natural opening for HRE is going to be archers. There's not a lot that Sassy can do to deny this. So a couple of questions in chat. What is this map? This is Glade. It's definitely something new we haven't seen all that often in 1v1 competitive play, which is a super reason why I'm enjoying this one, watching it out. It's obviously pretty closed at times in terms of the entrance, one entrance to your base, but it is only one entrance, so there's no running away. And lucky enough for the HRE and LaSh, he's got an incredible spawn of the back deer and back gold. You can't really ask for much more. Sassy now does having that outpost, going to be trying torching his way through on the edges. It shouldn't be in range of the town centre if he moves a little bit further right. I think he should be fine in this position anyway. But multiple walls coming up for LaSh. Now that he is in the feudal age, he doesn't quite have the wood. He might be even going straight castle age, is he? I was kind of expecting him maybe to drop down an archery range and a couple of archers or 2, but he doesn't want to mess about. Maybe just wants to go straight for the castle age. Either way, Sassy going with the deer stones. Obviously, he's going to be a bit more delayed compared to his opponent to the feudal age. Obviously, he invested a bit into the barracks and to the spearmen and the outposts as well. But these walls definitely going to buy a lot of time for LaSh. I mean, dare I say he goes for the Burgrave? I mean, with the first play we went for Frim Garrison with Malians, I wouldn't put it past him. Especially with the Palisades, with only 4 villagers on wood. He would actually be able to afford 1 production building, I think, or 2, possibly. Not that I'm expecting it, but I would love to see the Burger of Palace. Gonna get a second outpost as well. Because bear in mind, the has to break out, right? He has to actually take care of those outposts. And whilst the Relics Cathedral will be a natural choice for, hoovering up those relics, it could be a nice way to break through with those man-at-arms that do pop out, or possibly popping out. It's going to open up with a blacksmith. Maybe get a couple of upgrades and then work his way through. Just on the way he techs up. Sassy though. This is kind of crazy, right? Sassy yet to get to the feudal age, and LaSh is kind of already almost on the way to the castle age. This is a bit rough, I gotta say. It's got to be the Burger of Palace, right? Like, because LaSh doesn't have enough wood. Maybe he's going to transition villages away once he does start the tech up. We'll have to see. Oh, it is going to be Burger of Palace. I had my inklings, I had my thoughts, I had my inclinations. My gut feeling said that LaSh was going to do it today. Going with the Fimbra Garrison game number 1. Going for the Burger in game number 2. LaSh is mixing it all up. And I love this, actually, because he gets Iron Undermesh. He gets Man-at-Arms. He just absolutely torches down the outpost. And there's not a lot that Sassy can do. And this is a rough one. But you can see the game plan that Sassy had in mind. Unfortunately, the map RNG just was not in his favour today. The HRE are going to be pushing out with the Man-at-Arms soon. But you'd love to see it, I gotta say. I love these kind of games because they're so different from what you expect. Especially as a caster. Like, often you kind of theory craft about what's going to happen and what players quote-unquote should do according to the meta. And then Sassy and LaSh coming in and mixing it all up. You'd love to see it. Burger of Palace just about to coming in, and yeah, he's building with 8 villages, quick time. He's got a great economy behind this, so should be able to pump out quite quickly. Like 10 villages on food, 7 on gold, and 8 more to be redistributed once that building is made. It doesn't need wood, right? It just needs woods for houses. That's all he needs at this point. And maybe for some upgrades on the blacksmith, but other than that, he's good to go. Undermesh is in, and he's probably going to get wedge rivets as well, I suspect. And then he's going to go for the man-at-arms. Going to produce a couple and then upgrade them. Still sending a couple more spearmen, and this is going to be really difficult for Sassy because sure, he's got 3 outposts, but he has to find a way to the castle age somehow with the step redoubt, and somehow then get a couple of crossbows out to try and hold the oncoming flood. Gotta get marching drills as well. And it's just going to come out to a timing push really for LaSh, right? It just needs a couple of man-at-arms, a couple of upgrades, and then he's good to go. And the Burger of Palace produces so fast. Jeez Louise. 5 seconds, guys. It takes 5 seconds for a man-at-arm to come out. Absolute nuts. Sassy trying to get as much value as he can, but it's so tough in his position, right? I think we've all been here up against the HRE, not being able to deny the gold, and then this happens. So yeah, starting to move out now. Doesn't have wedge rivets, but these man-at-arms are definitely tanky enough to just walk it through. It doesn't even have to take them out. It just doesn't care. It just can go straight to the base, and why not? A couple of archers there for Sassy. He's going to try and thin the numbers before they get to the base, but it's going to be a tricky one. And of course, Sassy is nowhere near that castle age. And this is looking kind of rough. Obviously, no static defenses in terms of walls for the Mongols. Just something they do not get. Anything you could potentially rely on are outposts, but that would be delaying any sort of catching up to the castle age, and these man-at-arms just don't take much damage here. Heavily armoured. Heavily equipped with those swords. And this is going to be rough because, I mean, we've seen this time and time again, haven't we? We've seen the HRE just chucking man-at-arms and just constantly flood and idle town centres, and yeah, half of the economy for the Mongols now completely idle. Does have actually decent number of miniature units, 25. So we'll be able to possibly take care of this eventually, but villages will be going down as well. Probably no textiles, I would have thought. And this is tricky. Spearman taking out the man-at-arms pretty heavily. But still, man-at-arms got good value. And here comes the villagers. Going to torch the outpost down. And didn't even need textiles, I wouldn't have thought. I didn't bother with that. They crack on with Burger of Palace. Sassy, he's got to find a way to deal with this number of man-at-arms. He keeps pumping them. He's only got 2 villages on food, so with the deer now already taken, And there is a point where actually LaSh has to transition to farms. Maybe that'll be a bit of a respite for the Mongols. Maybe that could give him a chance to get to that castle age. Or does he look to even pack more of a punch? Now, if there's a way, actually, maybe Sassy can continue the containment and just deny the food income or make him transition to farms. And then, I mean, how much gold has he got in the gold bank? He's still got 2,000 in there, so it's a decent number of mana times that could pop out. This will increasingly become tricky. He's taking a couple of villagers, though, which is nice there, Sassy. A couple of picks, for sure. Spearman going to tank against the mana times on the front line and allow the archers to do some work, but the archers aren't that many in numbers, and, well, there's only 2 now. Down to be 0, I think. He's going to engage this LaSh, and he should be able to clear this up, actually. I mean, 4 mana times. Can they take this fight? I think they probably could. There's another one heading through anyway. It's a fight that the Mongols are desperately trying to win. Trying to get the outpost in the forward position once again, but doesn't quite manage it. And yeah, he does win that fight. The extra amount of times in the end does a lot of damage. Oh, Khan's needs to be careful. He does ride on out. And behind this, Sassy is slowly but surely getting closer and closer to that castle age. But his military numbers now are really dwindling. He doesn't really have much of a standing army. That's kind of what saved him in that first push, and he doesn't have that now. He's taking the ball, nicely protected by the outpost, but you know, this is where it becomes tricky. Mana times continue to flood here for LaSh, and farming is starting up. And bear in mind, don't forget, the economy behind this, for the HRE, an extra 40% gather rate on the prelate inside the Arkan Chapel, on all the farms, all the gold, and on all the lumberjacks. Does have a couple of Keshiks, will maybe tank a little bit, but he's going to need more than a handful of those. He's going to need a couple more. LaSh, though, not committing too much more. Going to go for the boar, and this is going to be huge, actually, this bit of food. And he does have now wedge rivets, and he's also going to get the bloomery upgrade, so the mana time is going to be pretty tanky now. He's got pretty much all the upgrades he needs. Even going to be adding in heavy maces. And basic Keshiks now will do absolutely nothing. This is rough. These guys will chew through them in a big way. Oh god. Heavy maces is in. These guys get absolutely slaughtered. Oof. We saw the game plan for Sassy. Unfortunately, doesn't seem like it's going to be working out. But game's not over just yet. If he can somehow survive to get to that castle age, maybe get a handful of crossbows. He does have steeled arrow, which will be helpful. But he's got to somehow get that. Mana time's going to be taken on through, and while a couple of villagers are left outside there, only 15 garrison or spots. Keshik's going to try and dive on in, but the mana times will be enough to take that out, and the archer fire from the town centre barely tickling these mana times is actually horrendous to see. A couple of Keshiks getting a couple of villagers on the berries, which is helpful, but I don't think Sassy knows about the boar on the right side. That's where the big food income's coming in for the HRE at the moment. It's going to ring around the rosy, and yeah, more than half the economy is idle here for the Mongols because of these man-at-arms. A handful of them doing so much damage. Man-at-arms might go down eventually. Managed just to even pick off a villager in the end. But it certainly does not look good. And here comes a couple more, 3 more trickling on in. LaSh now starting to pick up some relics as well. Villagers spot this though. Oh. Well, that might come off when he get it in time. I think the villagers get it in the end. Thankfully enough for him. And finally the man-at-arms are cleared up. Now, he does have a decent number of Keshiks actually, and he's quite struggling on gold, right? That's the resource he needs. But now LaSh is aware of the villagers here, pushing off a boar. I think he took the majority of it anyway. But these villagers are super exposed. Oh no, running around again. 3 man-at-arms causing 8 villagers idle for a very long time. Wait, LaSh garrison. He does garrison. Keshiks, though, they're too busy dealing with the reinforcing man-at-arms, and down to 3 military versus 14. This is where things are starting to snowball, right? The HRE with great income of both food and gold, more than they need for the Burger of Palace. And there it is, then, gentlemen. Game number 2. We kind of saw it coming for a while. Sassy tried something against what was a great spawn there for the HRE, but of course, with that spawn and a player as clinical as LaSh is never going to waste that opportunity to get game number 2. Alrighty. Alright, welcome everyone to game number 3. It's going to be on Cliffside with LaSh spawning on the west side in blue as the Jeanne d'Arc faction. And the southeast, it's going to be Sassy playing as the Ayubids. Welcome everyone to Cliffside. We've had 2 fantastic games so far. And well, this civilization matchup definitely interesting. Jeanne versus the Ayubids. The Ayubids, a relatively strong civilization, can be obviously pretty decent to go to that castle age. Whether they go for a castle age against Jeanne though is kind of rough, especially with the map spawn, right? I'm not too sure about that. Maybe an outpost or 2 might help him there. But with the berries and gold forward, I've got to say, Sassy's not had the rub of the green in terms of the map generation. That's for sure. LaSh on the other hand with the back gold once again, as Jeanne d'Arc. He's been having some good spawns today, and the berries too. Now on a map like Cliffside, it can be obviously pretty aggressive with the right pathway right down the middle. But it can be relatively easy to wall up at times. The question is whether you get the chance to. Now the question in chat from Core, what was the price for this game? It's going to be £30 prize pool at the moment. It's self-funded by myself and, well, I just say that, but really from the community support. So I'm kind of relying on that in terms of future show matches. I'll try and keep it going for as long as I possibly can, but I super appreciate all the support that's been coming in. I mean, I've got bigger dreams for it. I'm not going to share it on this cast because it's too long to talk about. But we could go a long way with a series of show matches, just supporting a lot of the players that don't necessarily get into the S tier tournaments, but they're kind of there or thereabouts, but just off it. You know, super talented players that would only just miss out of S tier tournaments, only just. And so it's just to really kind of support them as well a little bit, and as well get great games out of it. So that's part of the plan. We'll see where we can go with it. Either way, Jeanne, working from a humble beginning as a humble peasant, has been mining some gold. She's been I'm not going to say it, but I think you guys, never mind. We're going to be going up with the School of Cavalry, and so could be building with an extra villager too. And we have seen a lot of sort of play into wheelbarrow. I wonder whether LaSh will be doing that today, setting some more villagers over to gold just to make sure he gets the pumping out of the Royal Knights. Crackety in the chat. I feel you. I do feel you. So, obviously Jeanne being a very unique civilization with a hero unit and it being incredibly strong, and obviously with Reddit and everything and saying how overpowered this civilization is. And I mean, I'm not necessarily one to disagree with that. It's an incredibly strong civilization, especially she techs up to tier 3 and tier 4 in particular. I think tier 2, I mean, Jeanne doesn't really do much at this stage, right? I mean, she does a bit. It's not too heavy, but you get to tier 3 and tier 4, and Jeanne is pretty oppressive. I think the triple for Sassy here is that the forward spawn is pretty rough. He's going to go up with the miniature wing to give him some desert raiders, which will help with the Camelot knees for sure against the inevitable French Royal Knights. I think the Ayubids obviously possibly a decent pick here against the Jeanne d'Arc faction. If there's a civilization that can maybe do some damage against them, it's probably the Ayubids. And of course maybe the Abbasids, but the Ayubids, especially with the Camelot knees, are going to need to try and make the most of that. The question is, what does he do beyond this? The Ayubids could potentially look to go for the castle age. A second town center is something they've done in the past, but not that much more recently. So I'd be surprised to see a second town center. Having said that, a second town center in this spot here, next to the berries and gold, whilst you don't necessarily want to just kind of get your second town center on the very primary resources, generally you want to branch out. I mean, dare I say this double deer pack and a woodline, but if game number 1's anything to go by, I think Sassy should not go there. I think he should play more of a condensed economy if he does go for a second town center, which there's no real signal that he's going to do so. Instead, he's going to go for a barracks opening, as you'd expect, to accompany the desert raider to deal with the knight. Jeanne, oh, LaSh. He's going to go for a tower rush, isn't he? He's doing it. I mean, we've seen this a couple of times with Jeanne. Oh, I feel bad for that. Wait, hang on a minute. No, I think it's one desert raider. It's not going to be enough. Although she's not that tanky in the Dark Age, actually, on the tier 1. So maybe that could be okay, actually. I mean, he's going to need the spearman out, though. It's been denied for now. I mean, she's courageous. I mean, one desert raider, it's going to take another 2 minutes for another one to pop out. Knight, pretty weak, but, as long as he keeps the knight alive, that's what he really needs. Oh, knight. Oh, that's close. That's close. He's going to get the last hit. The knight should go down. They both go down. They trade, but now that leaves Jeanne on her own to build an outpost. Where's that spearman? Here it is. The villagers might need to get involved here for Sassy, actually, because this is not... If this goes up, I mean, this outpost is devastating. It really is. Bear in mind, Jean, it builds faster than villagers, and there come the villager pool for SaS. He needs to deal with it, but there's another Royal Knight coming out for LaSh, and he doesn't need to commit too much here, LaSh. Gonna back away, let the Royal Knight do its job. Only one Spearman at the moment, of course, because obviously you can only produce so much so often. There's a second, though, getting in place. It needs to get involved, though. And does he... I think he has to focus on the Knight, really. Knight's the big damage output. He has to back away from Jean as much as possible, and I mean, one thing to bear in mind is actually Sassy does have the stable now with Horseman, so he could be okay, but needs to delay this coming up. Knight will go down to one of the Spearmen, maybe not. The outpost doesn't go up in the end. LaSh having to back away. And Jean now takes up, though. That's a massive thing, because now she's going to get Holy Wrath ability. Does deploy it. Gets a decent amount of HP of the Spearman in particular. Does take the Knight. That was huge, actually. Taking the Knight there, and it was massive. He needed that, that's for sure. Horseman going to chase Jean down. Jean might need to retreat here. I don't think she can fight this for too long. And I mean, LaSh doesn't get the outpost up in the end, but he's not giving up. There's another Knight popping out, and hopefully now we'll see another Desert Raider. I say hopefully, I mean, to be able to stop the outpost rush for sure. But LaSh is still in a good spot. Gonna get an archery range and do the Jean d'Arc thing. Knights, archers. But I gotta say, good hold there by Sassy. Managed to defend the position. that was tense. I mean, because the reason why it's such a big deal is that outpost, it's not just an outpost that denies one gold vein. It denies the berries, denies the stone. It's a really far forward outpost. It's so hard then to deal with. I mean, ultimately, you know, if you do need to extend the game for another 5-10 minutes, the OPs obviously do get siege engineering for free, so can possibly afford a round, but that's another 200 wood you got to spend. You know, it's a bit of a faff, right? Wait, is it 200 now? I've been reading the patch notes. Is that what it is now? Has it been changed? Yeah, it's still 200. It's the build time that's been changed in the upcoming patch. Two Knights chasing that way. Sassy going to try and get some damage as much as possible, and behind this is getting an outpost now on that forward position. Probably a wise move. I like it. I like it a lot. And here's the barracks. Getting one of each production building type. Slowly going to be thinking about moving out. But Jean is healing on up. This is the annoying thing, right? Like, she should have died. But she didn't. And even if she did, she'd get summoned back in an instant. Mill popping out for LaSh, so probably going to get a bit more of a transition to berries. Bear in mind that actually now, with the position that Sassy has, I think if you can deny any sort of expansion to the deer camp, that could be pretty huge, right? Because, I mean, ultimately LaSh, the last thing we're going to want to do is get to a farming transition. But it just pushed off gold. And Sassy really using the mobility with his cavalry units. Isn't able to pick off a villager just yet. Knight's going to get on top of that, though. LaSh pushing on out and going back to gold. Now, Sassy does have a decent bank of food. Maybe thinking about itching towards that castle age, especially with the number of villagers that he has on it. And I would love to see growth come out of this, because it's a very typically commonly chosen way to get to the castle age for the Ayyubids. Gives them 8 villagers and gives it orchards an additional 100 food, which obviously not too relevant in this particular patch, but 8 villagers is a really nice boost, I've got to say. This is not a fight that Sassy can take, but thankfully for him, he's got cavalry, so he does have the movement speed advantage to get away from the Spearman and Jean. And LaSh and the Jean d'Arc faction, they are no strangers to feudal age aggression and extended feudal ages, and that could suit the Ayyubids a little bit. If we can get there and protect the key resources. Bear in mind though, when you do take up to the next stage, you need to keep gold secure, and we're not going to forget easily how far forward that gold was for Sassy. So he needs to keep that area protected. He does have a back gold, but it's pretty far away from the base, and the mobility of the French Royal Knights could have something to say about that. Arrow slits is in play. LaSh is not giving up. He's going to go for another outpost, and to be fair, I don't blame him, because he does have a decent number of military units, and he's probably sensing Castle Age coming. He could do whatever he can to deny that gold vein. And this is actually a bit of a concern. We've seen this a lot more on the most recent patches of Age of Empires. I'm not entirely sure why this wasn't a thing in the previous patches, but one outpost isn't generally enough these days, because you can just go on the other side of the gold vein. So generally need 2 outposts, but Sassy only got 1 so far. Spearman do brace against the Knights, actually, and not a great engagement there at the start, but then baits them in. And Jean does use the Holy Wrath ability on the Spearman, takes out a lot of HP, diving in to the range of the outpost quite clearly, and Divine Restoration comes out and heals those Knights up again. 2 extra villagers now to support. building up that outpost. It could be quite hard to deny. I mean, SaSy did lose a couple there. A couple. And there's the first villager that actually goes down. There's mostly military units that were lost up to now, of course. Now SaSy is going to go up to the next day. Wait, what? The culture. Okay, makes sense. He's going to go a bit quicker, but obviously forgoes the benefit of getting extra villagers. Does go a bit quicker as well. I think he needs it. Time is currently of the essence, and he needs access to gold, though. Does go to the north gold vein here. Does have an outpost on the deer camp, and I mean, this is a very nice source of food. Double deer pack. I think another outpost here. Yeah, that's a nice spot, isn't it? It needs to protect the gold there for sure. And I think if the Ibis can kind of keep the Jean Dark faction down the south and just preoccupied, make LaSh think he's going for the gold here, that could be huge. Because if LaSh doesn't spot that gold vein expansion here on the north, that could be massive for this game. Because getting up to the next stage is one thing. Being able to produce units with it is an entirely different matter. Camel Lancers queued up. Gonna get crossbows as well. And some Gulam. Go for all the Castle Age heavy hitting units. That could put SaSy in a good spot. Behind all of this, Jean is going up to the deer camp and the boar. Oh, this is a really nice spot of food. And that's exactly what Jean needs at this point. Food, food, food. I wonder whether SaSy will drop down a monastery. Does have the wood for it. Could look to try and get some dervishes and some relics to try and scale that economy and build it up a little bit. But SaSy is going to be caught in terms of LaSh spotting this expansion most likely. Or maybe not. She's going to get... Oh, wait. Oh, no. What happened there? LaSh. He wasn't looking for a second. And those knights get absolutely decimated by the spearmen. Holy Wrath comes out, though, for Jean. And, well, guess what? She uses Divine Restoration to keep some of the fledgling dying knights alive for a little bit longer. But the Camel Lancer really getting so much value. That's a massive cleanup there for SaSy overall, all things concerned. But guess who survives? It is Jean with the Holy Wrath ability. Going to take out massive HP on the Camel Lancer. Gulam getting involved. Good number of archers there for the Ibids. And I think the Ibids should be able to clear this up. Jean has to retreat. There is one knight there. Well, this is a great position now for SaSy. It took a great fight. Holy Wrath comes out once again. Now if Jean goes down, that could be a massive cleanup here. Jean does fall down. This is a nice pick off. He's got to keep the cavalry alive. No need to really engage. That doesn't matter anymore. There's nothing there left. This is a good spot for SaSy. Got to say, he's got a tech up. He's got extra villagers compared to LaSh, and LaSh is kind of almost there to the castle age. Does have consecration on the town centre and the barracks. Going to pumping out spearmen, and all of a sudden now this game has switched. The pendulum has swung. Ultimately, it's the Ibis that are on the front foot. They're pulling all the strings, it seems. And I'd like to see maybe, hopefully, he drops down a monastery. Now, there's got a bit of a control on the game and get some of those relics whilst he can. What he's got to be careful about is that castle age coming on soon. I wonder whether SaSy will push on out soon. Whether he starts to wait for a couple more military units. Does almost have 200 wits. So potentially could even take a ram to try and get this down. Might even just rely on some Gulam. I'm not sure he's got enough here, though. Only 2 Gulam. I mean, he's going to lose a couple of infantry units here. I'm not so sure he's so desperate on this gold, actually. Do you really need to commit to this? He's got gold here in the north, a double outpost there. Yeah, he's losing a couple of crossbows. He feels like he needs to take this down quick time. I'm not so sure. I'm not so convinced. Either way, he will get it down eventually. Dervish now moving out to pick up some of the relics. And I definitely love this positioning here. Just protect the deer camp. Just going to try and force that farm injection a little bit earlier than maybe LaSh would have wanted. Having said that, there's still plenty of food in this spot, and LaSh is protecting it very nicely. Villagers on gold, they need to be careful. That's a lot of villagers on gold. Camel Lancer's taking a couple of villages here. Not enough garrison of spots. Knights riding on through, but double arrow slits and outposts is going to be fine against the feudal age knights. It's a different story when they're castle age knights. That could be on the way soon with Guild Hall coming up with 15 villagers. Could have sworn I read 22 for a second, but looks like 15. But yeah, SaSy does have a window of opportunity to do some damage. I think this is a good spot to try and hit, but there is 2 outposts. It'd be a bit difficult to deal with, but with the Gulam involved, could be decent with Iron Undermesh on the way as well. I guess who's pushing it away? This is Jean. Ball's coming up, and yeah, SaSy is actually really securing this portion of the map, and I like it, because whilst he can't take the ball, there's a relic behind there. And he's got 2 relics in his grasp, and SaSy playing this really nicely. This could be his way back into the set. 2-0 down. SaS will be very keen for a victory here today on this map. Now, Guildhall is being really popular. We don't really see Royal Institute anymore, and I guess it plays quite nicely into that mid to late game if he needs to rely on gold, if he's struggling to get hold of it. And I think this portion of the map is going to be really key, right? You've got the food sources, but more importantly, 2 gold veins that LaSh is going to need to depend on most likely. So I wonder if SaS will push out there in that direction. For the time being, though, he's just focusing on the primary gold vein as you'd expect. Going in with the Camel Lancers and buying a lot of time for those dervishes to pick up those relics. Village going to get the barracks down quick time. He wants it up and running. There's a couple of spearmen involved there. I think the Camel Lancers need to back away. Not too much more value to be had there. At least with the spearmen in that position. But what that does allow to happen is maybe an attack on here. Not many units kind of gathering at that point. And 2 Camel Lancers actually pulling away a lot of spearmen. It'll take a bit of time for them to get back in this position. And maybe there's a window there for SaS to do some damage. He's not keen on engaging just yet with the double outpost. Double blacksmith for the win. He really wants those upgrades. 3 relics in play. Playing a bit more passively now, just trying to stage a force to fight with. But it has allowed LaSh to get to that castle age, and one thing I'm concerned about SaS's position, of course, is the cheaper units. It's actually a really big saving. And I think generally I think it's a big part of why Jean is actually so much more powerful than the French. I mean, sure, the French get faster working town centers, it scales quite nicely with the economy, but like the power spike here with the consecration is super nice. Like with the French, you need to keep to get this kind of bonus, but you just get consecration with Jean. And he's producing villages cheaper as well because it's on the town center. So whilst he's not producing faster, he's saving. Holy Wrath ability comes out for Jean. Is up to level 3 as well. Gulam and Spearman taking that front line. A couple of crossbows on the back. Does use Divine Restoration just to heal the units up once more. Outpost should go up there for the Ayubids. Another 100. How many times is she going to deactivate that? What the hell is the cooldown on this thing? She does die in the end, and that's a good pushback by SaS. Got a good military advantage now, and an outpost in a really good strong position. Got 2 sacred sites. I love the fact that SaS is playing for the min-map objectives. And I think because he's doing that, it puts him in a really good spot, right? It's a big difference maker when the gold income coming in. 3 sacred sites. Sorry, 3 relics and 2 sacred sites. Spearman charging on through. Does have a couple of man-at-arms, though, although are these John's champions? Well, they are just regular man-at-arms. Holy Wrath ability comes out for Jean once again, and the thing I'm a bit concerned about is she's gaining valuable XP out of these fights. Well, there's a lot of villagers on gold there, going to be harassed quite heavily. LaSh needs to back away. He's lost 10 villagers so far, about to maybe lose more. Jean might die once more. Dervish involved to heal on up. I love that addition of the Dervish in that fight. Going to get another outpost now. Look at SaS. He's definitely being aggressive. Now, this is what he wanted to do in game number 2. Put pedal to the metal with the aggression with outposts. At least he's being able to do it in game number 3. LaSh needs to find a way to defend and group up an army to push this back. But he's struggling in some ways because his village is behind and he doesn't have the standing army that he would want. What he does have is consecration. It's a big saving on the food cost, as well as now on the gold cost. Golden Age tier 2. Does mean the 50% reset speed will be quite nice. Would have been quite nice once he was actually teching things up. But the 10% extra gather rate on the villagers is super nice as well. And when he does get to tier 3, that's where things are going to really spiral out of control for him. An extra 20% production speed on those buildings he's got. Going to build a Manjanik on the ground. Adding in a bit of siege. Forcing the Jean d'Arc faction to find another solution against that. Because cavalry's not really on the menu for them. So it's going to need some springalds. Oh, a couple of villages here, a bit exposed. Was looking to maybe get a keep with these number of villages on the stone. Denying the deer camp. SaS has had his eyes on this deer camp forever. The whole game, actually, and nicely done. Pushing away those villagers very, very heavily. A couple of man-at-arms they've been trickling in, trying to do some little bits of damage here and there. Third sacred site being kept on the north. So sacred site time will be activated soon enough. A 4th relic in the bag already for SaS. 5th one coming in, and SaS looks to be in a really strong position in game number 3. Now with this area pretty much controlled by SaS and the Ibis with this outpost. It's such a nice outpost, right? 2 gold veins controlled. It means that this is the only real location that SaS needs to start putting like significant pressure. Other than the primary base, of course. But if he does wish to actually go for this area here, absolutely huge. Instead, he's going to look to put more of a direct approach. There's a sacred site timer. Plenty of gold in the bank for Sassy. And good food income too. There is going to come a point though that farming transition will be needed. We're heading to the sort of 22-minute mark of the game where on this map in particular, farming becomes a thing and will be needed. That might halt the progress of the economy for Sassy a little bit. But not that it matters, because look at the military advantage he's got. And can LaSh even really afford a siege workshop? It's a big investment. Coming around the back, looking to do some damage of his own, especially with Jean leading the lines. Oh, wait, Manjanik, if it deploys on the villagers. Wait, has he spotted it? No, Sassy hasn't spotted it just yet. Deploys. Oh my god, it's going to be big. It's going to be huge. Oh, wait, nice dodge there by LaSh. Holy moly. Got out of there, but a couple of crossbows going to get a couple of kills. Wallow. Is that a distraction? No, it's actually a Wallow. Sassy coming in. Will he get? He'll get some, right? He'll get one. He'll get two. Nicely done. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it. You can't tell me otherwise. Now, the good thing for Sassy in his position is that he's being very active with his army, and it just forces LaSh into putting army left, right, and center. It's kind of challenging, right? Because you can imagine the APM needed to organize where all his army needs to be. You can try and challenge his goal position, but actually, Sassy doesn't have that much economy here. And love this addition of the forward dervish. On the right side is an engage here. Well, this could be a good fight for LaSh, actually, with Holy Wrath coming out. Especially with the man at arms against the spearmen. And cavalry aren't really too well suited against the Arbiter Tree on the back line. It's a fight that actually LaSh will be winning. It's probably the first fight he's won in a long time. Oh, forward keep. Okay, well, oh, villagers, Sassy, no! He's in range of the town center. I don't think he spots it, and he surely has textiles, right? Oh my god, he doesn't have textiles. Okay. Sassy, why are you doing this? No, no. I mean, it should not go up, right? There's no way this goes up, and he's going to have to delete it. I mean, he's getting a bit of torches as well, LaSh, so he won't get the full refund. Sassy. Jean returns to the battlefield. Is still getting damage on the backline, though, at least, and down in the south, this is Wolf getting involved. Bear in mind that actually the sacred site time is still ticking. 7 minutes. He does delete it in the end. All the villagers gone, and yeah, has to back away. Unfortunately, he didn't lose like all of the stone, I don't think. He would have lost a significant amount, though. Jean goes down once again. Oof. Players having to look everywhere on the map, right? You can see some mistakes popping out, but it's understandable when they're having to look in every different direction. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. LaSh taps out. It's just too much in the end. Too much aggression coming with the outpost, the surround, the suffocation coming out with the Ayyubids. Jean wasn't able to fulfill her outpost rush, but I tell you who was. It was Sassy. Okie dokie. Welcome everyone to game number 4 between LaSh and Sassy. And today, spawning in the south corner of the map, playing in blue, we've got LaSh as the Japanese. And of course, as we know, his opponent in the north, playing in red, we've got Sassy playing as the English. Welcome everyone to African Waters, a map that I don't think we've seen it all that often in competitive play, but we're going to see it today in the civilizations, the English versus Japanese. You'll love to see it. I think it's a very strong matchup and two strong civilizations on hybrid maps. I think on the picks that we had in terms of civilization drafts, it makes a lot of sense. You know, maybe Sassy did have the Ayyubids, which he just picked on the last game on Cliffside. But ultimately, going for the Ayyubids on this map, it's a bit of a tricky one because you do have plenty of food on the map. We've got the deer camp and the berries in the middle. Plenty of it, by the way. But you do also have the boars. You've actually got 6 boars on this map. And so the Ayyubids obviously can't take that. Not that I think they're necessarily going to be too hung up on that, these two players, because of course you've got plenty of food in the middle. More importantly, you've got plenty of food as fish. The question is, you know, how do you play this one out? Do you get your own docks first, which both players are opting to do? Do you look to go for a bit of a sneaky attack dock on your enemy's base? So could we see maybe the Japanese go for a dock over where Sassy is? Vice versa? We'll have to see. Now, one thing to bear in mind as well with the Japanese, they do have the Cocker Township. We don't see it all that often, but when we do, it's usually on hybrid maps, so possibly we could see it today. The Cocker Township giving access to the Shinobi, looking to do the sabotage business on the docks and cause all sorts of problems. Having said that, you know, a couple of villages there may be He's only got one villager there, by the way, Sassy. We do sometimes see on hybrid maps, some players send a couple more, just in case a shinobi pop up, right? Because then you can actually use your short bows to try and take out the shinobi. You got to be careful, though, because shinobis do pack a punch. Got some great base damage. Either way, both players, of course, going for the docks, and 3 fishing ships already out for the English, and Japanese have a really nice bonus, right? They've got 45 wood for a fishing ship. Absolutely bonkers. The English, yeah, it's a decent trade, decent knockoff, but 67 wood. I think in many ways the Japanese are proving themselves to be incredibly strong as a hybrid map civilization. And we'll see what they can do up against the English today. Now, I'd like to say I hope you guys have been enjoying the show match. I've been enjoying casting it, and these 2 players have really put on a show for us. It is a show match after all, but I really appreciate all the support you guys have been giving on Twitch or on YouTube, and it goes a long way. Hopefully we're going to be making Farmy's Fight Club a thing, maybe something quite consistent, so thank you for all your support on that. Going out to berries nice and early with the farmhouse. Kind of interesting that actually he's still opting for that, because sometimes you could actually start to see maybe players double dock. But he wants a bit of a hybrid economy. But I suspect it's going to be the Cogger Township, right? LaSh does have the resources to take up. Why is he not taking up? Wait, what? Oh, there it is. Okay. Wait, Cura Storehouse? Okay. No shinobi for us today, and this is interesting. Like, the food is going to be coming out of his ears for LaSh, I gotta say. I mean, I'm interested about this because, is there really a chance he's going to lose the dock at the back? And does he really play for that? I'm pretty surprised in a way that he didn't go for the Cogger Township. I guess he wants to save free food economy, which is pretty nice, and maybe doesn't feel like he can get too much value, especially against the English, right? Maybe that's why. Maybe they didn't go for the shinobis because of that. Thinking that maybe a couple of villagers being pulled would try and deny it. But also, of course, the fast tech up for the English here will be giving access to longbows, which again, they're pretty decent counter against the shinobi. So out of that, bearing that in mind, maybe he just thinks, actually, maybe LaSh is going to be going for the Cura Storehouse because of that. Seven fishing ships out there for the English, continue to make them, and LaSh actually not committing all that much to this in terms of food. Only 3 fishing ships. I'm kind of surprised to see that. Getting an outpost in the gold, so yeah, LaSh definitely making sure that he's not pushed off of that gold anytime soon. Understandably so, because the longbows could be popping out pretty soon for Sassy. Looks like it. And there's the first longbow, and that LaSh does spawn out. Scout backing off, and he's looking to wall up pretty significantly. We'll have access to the deer camp in the south, and also the boar and a gold vein, and stone vein to be fair. I wonder which player will up for the middle, because they're pretty close to each other. Bear that in mind as well. Something to considering the English can be pretty aggressive. One outpost there with arrows that's coming in pretty soon, and this play is obviously quite nice for the Japanese, considering the fact that, when they mine stone, they get gold, and when they mine gold, they get stone. That's how he's managed to afford arrow slits. Just by the fact that he's mining stone. Or might be looking to deny this up. There are 2 villages, so maybe look to get the palisades all in time. Although the scout will probably burn through. Like, I don't think it's going to significantly... I mean, might get them pretty well built, actually, to be fair. Yeah, it looks okay. Gets the walls up. Although that might be worked on by the scout. Using the full health villager. All the longbows are not... They're not... Yeah, okay, they're backing into that position again. And does push the villager away. Oh, there comes a counter dock. Ah, this is smart by... This is really kind of cool by LaSh, actually. I mean, it's definitely an interesting one. Like, so LaSh is kind of playing a short economy into the waters. Trying to make Sassy commit to this, maybe. Possibly was expecting this. And so, yeah, Sassy will push him off water. But, I mean, ultimately, it's just going to be one galley that does it. I don't know. I feel like LaSh will contest this a little bit. Maybe get... Will he afford an arrow? I don't think he can afford this without mining stone. Directly, although, is he... He is mining. He's getting some gold. I mean, he might be able to afford it in time, actually. Because naval arrow slits will delay things for the taking down the dock. But he hasn't got enough stone just yet. On the right side, looking to break on through. Down in the middle of the map. Scout just finding out. There's not much there, actually, in the middle. Castle Edge coming for the Japanese. This is definitely what they look to posture towards doing, and the Castle Edge could be very dangerous. SaSy could be in a lot of trouble here. Demo just waiting to be deployed just in case there is a Springle ship. Now, SaSy's got to be careful not to overcommit here. But Naval Arrow Slits is coming in, right? Gotta be. Or it's actually in an outpost. I think it's on an outpost somewhere. Oh, there it is in the south. Just in case the longbows do pop through. Now with the tech up to the Castle Edge, that's going to be huge. Going to give them access to getting those relics. On the other hand, SaSy opting for a barracks and also a blacksmith. What if he plays a... I mean, it doesn't really look like he's having a go out of heavy feudal age actually at this point. Unless he starts taking into man-at-arms. Dock situation. Still focusing on that. Hopefully he's not producing any more military. He's not. He's going to be fishing on double docks actually. That could be huge. Because the economy on that will be very, very fast. And lots of food coming in. There's that floating gate landmark. Going to be accessing the Yorishiro. Now the question is where he's put it. He puts it directly in the stable. So he's going to get those mounted samurai. This is going to be a bit of a problem for SaSy. Like he does have a decently condensed economy. But that wood line, he needs to keep it safe. And the gold vein to be fair. I wonder if he will look to drop some outposts. What if he look to tech up himself? Might even need to tech it up with the white... I think White Tower could be pretty useful for him actually. Because he's got a great economy on water. And so as long as he doesn't die to the mounted samurai or the Castle Age push that's inevitably coming in from the Japanese, you know, a White Tower could help him with that. Does have a spearman though, will help counter that a little bit. Eventually the spearman will go down. The mounted samurai getting good value on that. Paintings deploy, so can't take the fight just yet. But looking to get another outpost. What is this series with outposts? These guys are really going at it with the outposts. You'd love to see it though. In the middle of the map, Spearman continues the chase, pushes the villagers away with the longbowman. The outpost, of course, didn't go up in the end. Two mounted samurai charging on through, and the kind of crazy thing with the tech up for the Castle Age for the Japanese is this is an incredible amount of production speed, right? 200%. Holy moly. Yeah, and he will commit to their outpost now, just to protect that gold as much as possible. He does have a bit of stone as well, so possibly could think about arrow slits. But I mean, was he thinking about a second town center at some point? Because there's a lot of stone in the bank. Either way, LaSh has given up on water, and he's got free farms, and he's got plenty of sheep and plenty of food to extract on the map. Mounted samurai pushing on through, trying to get that outpost. Does have two villages there building that. Spearmen though, decent numbers for them. I think Spearmen do okay for now, but the thing is, these are Castle Age mounted samurai. So eventually they will clear up the Spearmen. And does he get one? Oh, and he keeps it alive there, LaSh. Nice micro. The one does die in the end. He's got to get that weak one out, SaSy. If he's paying attention, he should get one hit on it. It should go down. Yeah, there it is. We lost quite a few mounted samurai, but the outpost will go up in the end, and we'll deny that gold vein. Now the question is, where does he go for gold now? We'll need to extend to the edges of the map to do so. Although the villagers are pushing away by the spearmen. Nicely done. In fact, the short bows come out. Clutch play there by SaSy to deny that outpost. That was absolutely huge, and I mean, I gave it up. SaSy had other ideas and managed to deal with the problem. LaSh, he's not giving up. He's going to get 9 villagers. And if he's even going to commit to textiles, not just yet. Not just yet. SaSy's got to be careful though, because there are still 3 mounted samurai, and the outpost will go up. With these number of villagers, there's no way now. They're going to garrison inside as well, and this is going to be a bit difficult now for SaSy. Does he commit with the torches? I think he might. Does he have? He doesn't have textiles, so this could be rough. There's a couple of mounted samurai, spearman brace, just in case they do charge on him. But there's 4 mounted samurai. Villagers do back off. Takes out the outpost. Villagers going to need to back away after that. Oh, the villagers coming out to repair there for LaSh though. That's massive. The repair rate actually kind of crazy. Shortbow's now focusing on the villagers as much as they possibly can. Does start to one-shot them. He does need 8 with them. He's got 12, so he's got more than enough. And the outpost still back up again. Pretty heavy on the health. Arrow slits coming in. Oh no, this could be bad for SaSy. He doesn't have textiles. Arrow slits is in play. 5 villagers garrison inside. I'm not so sure if he knows about the arrow slits. This could be painful. And the villager's going to be repairing as well. Oh god, SaSy. In fact, he's gonna back away. But one thing to bear in mind, he does have a great fishing economy. It doesn't necessarily tell you the numbers on the... It doesn't feel like it in terms of the gather rate, but... Got a lot of fishing ships. And it is going to be the White Tower. Placed close to home. Going to try and deny that push on in. But another outpost being built, and oof, this is not looking great for SaS to defend that position. Mounted Samurai about to charge on in. Villagers do garrison inside the town centre. This is a precarious position to say the least. Villagers coming up to help build that up, but there's not much of an army in this spot right now. A lot of the military is actually tied up on military ships, I think, on that pond that LaSh has. This is not looking too great. Villagers coming out to try and take the villagers that are building up that outpost. Does take 2 of them in the end, which is pretty decent. White Tower will go up in the end, but not without casualties. In the end, the town centre fire and the spearmen took the Mounted Samurai out. Thank you for the raid there, Wham. Appreciate it. Hope you had a good stream, my dude. I was lurking in earlier. Hope you had some good games, my dude. Thank you for hopping on in. Appreciate you. Everyone that's joined in. We're having a show match. SaS versus LaSh. We're in game number 4 at the moment. It's been an absolute banger of a set, actually. I've really enjoyed this. The players have really come through with a great show match. Some wacky strategies. We've seen the Burger of Palace. We've seen the Farimba Garrison. Tell me when you've seen those 2 landmarks last. And we've got a map that we hardly ever see. We also had a map called Glade, which again we very rarely see on competitive 1v1s. But thank you coming in, all the raiders and Wham, for that. And here comes a ram coming out from the White Tower. Crossbows coming out. And I think the White Tower is actually a really nice decision here. We talked about earlier in the cast how he's effectively got, he's got a great economy with the fishing ships. But he needs to stabilize, and this does help him do that, especially with the ability to produce from this building, because he doesn't need as much wood to actually get the production buildings up. He does have plenty of barracks, which could, put him in a good spot to get man-at-arms, although Mounted Samurai will do decently against that, possibly. Thank you, Wham. Appreciate it. Thanks again. Now, the Yorishiro are actually inside the forge and the stable and the barracks. So this is where the Japanese come a bit crazy, right? When they're in the castle age, they do start to spam out units, and you feel like LaSh's economy is heading that direction. Plenty of food coming in, plenty of gold, getting the wedge rivets upgrade that will help him tank against the White Tower fire. And he has extended to the gold in the north, which, as we kind of expected, would be the case. Palisade walls are up, and that's going to be the contention point for these 2 players, I suspect. LaSh kind of on the front foot at the moment. Question is how long that will last for with the production speed of the White Tower and the 3 barracks. In fact, 4 barracks that are on the field. Looks like he is getting the upgrade to the Spearman to counteract the Mounted Samurai, so we might need to see a bit of a tech switch. Maybe into the Honorable Geisha. He's got a couple of veteran samurai on the field anyway. And I wonder if the crossbows, full crossbows would actually be pretty helpful here for SaS. Will help with the Mounted Samurai and also the regular samurai. But they're just having to garrison inside the town centre for now. Mounted Samurai riding on through. He doesn't. He does have a wedge rivet, so definitely going to be pretty hefty Mounted Samurai there, tanking a lot of the arrow fire, of course. Now, behind all this, one thing to consider is that the fish will actually kind of expire eventually. So there comes a period of time where actually SaS's economy could dip quite significantly. And that's when LaSh might be rubbing his hands and thinking, I'm in a good spot, because of course his economy is a bit more long-term setup. Because these, I mean, to be fair, there's decent shorefish, to be fair. So still got another at least maybe 15-20 minutes, I would have thought of that. It's not bad. Especially on LaSh's pond, because not a lot of that was taken. But behind all of this, LaSh with the full map control, or good map control, he's got 2 of the relics, bring another 2 in, and the gold income going to be coming out of his ears. Especially with the forge having the Yorishiro inside it. Double forge, in fact. Now, slowly but surely, SaS is starting to push on out. Does have a lot of military. I don't think Mounted Samurai will cut it here. Lots of crossbows, lots of spearmen. Now, I think LaSh has got to take into some siege, right? Some mangonels would put him in a good spot for sure. LaSh, though, doesn't necessarily have the best wood income at the moment. Question chat, how do the Japanese generate gold in late game outside of mining? Mostly the Yorishiro inside the forges if you decide to place it there, which he has got 2 of them in, but he does have access to 4 relics as well. So it's about getting the early aggression in the castle, which they do pivot towards, they do posture towards that a lot actually. Getting a very fast uptime to the castle age to get their lion's share of relics ideally. So a mixture of what they can do naturally with the Yorishiro inside the forges gives you 75 gold per minute. But then you can also, have the good timing for the cast stage and get the relics, just as LaSh has done today. Actually, 5 relics. That's massive. That's a lot of passive gold generation. Bear in mind, that's right from the cast stage, right? The English for the passive gold generation have to wait for the Imperial Age for enclosures. Spearmen engaging that front line against the veteran samurai. Not too many mounted samurai remaining. It's going to be the crossbows that are the big damage output unit here for SaS. He's got to keep them protected, though. The spearmen are tasked with doing that. I'm not so sure if he's got enough crossbows, though. I mean, he's getting kind of cleaned up, those spearmen. Honor Geisha added in for LaSh. That's a really amazing support unit. Does have a bit of a range to that melee damage, so will be able to fight on the shoulders of their comrades. Does also have the Katana Bandman, adding in the extra damage output. Now all of a sudden LaSh having to back away. But actually, to be fair, with the reinforcements, I think kiting this, he would clear this up. And especially because Honor Geisha are pretty vulnerable to ranged attacks. And that fight ends up pretty decent for the English. Looking to get an outpost in that forward position. But so are the English. They're going to extend the network of castles bonus. Going to give the extra 20% attack speed. With that crazy good game mechanic if you can make it work. But it needs a forward outpost. Adding in now a couple of man-at-arms. I love that switch, actually. Man-at-arms crossbows could be really nice for this civilization, especially when they go to the Imperial Age, farms with enclosures. Gold and food will be plentiful. Man-at-arms tanking against the Honor Geisha. Crossbows doing their work at the back line, and in the south sending a knight there to try to cap that sacred site. That was a nice play there by Sassy. I think it's broken through on the right side. There it is, Agent LaSh taps out. Well, it was a great game of Age of Empires 4. Big push in there for LaSh in the early castle age, but couldn't quite make it work, and Sassy pushes back to even up the set. 2-2, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to head into game number 5, and that's going to be heading on to Gorge. All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to game number 5, the final game of this set for Farmy's Fight Club. This is the second show match. Of course, the show match previous to this was Crackety versus Corvinus, and this one has been a banger just as the first one was. LaSh spawning on the east side of the map, playing in blue as a Delhi Sultanate, and his opponent in the southwest playing in red. We've got Sassy playing as the French. Thank you for the tip there, by the way. I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much. That goes a long way to help me support these players and actually host more show matches, which is definitely what I would love to do. I think, obviously, how good this show match has been, I'm super excited for the next one. I want to see plenty more and hopefully get plenty more players. Can't wait for it. Thank you. Hope you're doing well, Andy. Now, with the Delhi Sultanate versus the French. You know what? I tell you what, we haven't seen the French all that often. The reason why, because Jean d'Arc's come in and ruined things. I mean, the French, it's a nice civilization, always has been. The villagers produce a little bit quicker from the town centre, of course. 18 seconds on these guys. And it does mean their economy scales pretty well, despite staying in one town centre. I think this is going to be a great match. The reason why it's going to be very aggressive. The French will stay one town centre most likely. They do sometimes play for a second town centre, but it's probably a bit of a death sentence going up against the Delhi Sultanate that, they posture towards a very heavy feudal age. Getting the Ghazi raiders out nice and early. Getting the archers maybe as well. You'll see what they're going to follow up with. What we do know is it going to be played to the sacred sites. The question is whether it goes for the Dome of the Faith or the Tower of Victory. It's anyone's guess, but I would have thought it's probably going to go for the Tower of Victory. It's a very commonly chosen landmark for the Delhi Sultanate at the moment. Especially because, the 20% attack speed, it's super duper. It's so good when you think about, the infantry units and how well they really use that. And the long-term benefits of that is pretty hefty. Especially in this matchup, I think, the French are going to have units out in the feudal age. There's no doubt about that. They're going to have some knights. And so they're going to contest the sacred sites. Now, the one thing about the Dome of the Faith that does lend itself really nice to the Delhi is you get more scholars, they get them out quicker, and you get the sacred sites. You get onto the map quicker with the sacred sites, potentially. The reason I say potentially is because it comes down to how aggressive your opponent's going to be. And the French, well, they're one of the civilizations that play a lot of aggression. So I think generally what you lose from the Dome of the Faith is a little bit less when you're up against attacking civilizations like the French, because ultimately there's a Delhi. You're not going to want to move out until you have a decent mass of units. It's a totally different story if you're up against a civilization like the Chinese or a civilization that booms with multiple town centers, maybe an Abbasid. Because, of course, then you've got more... you can move out with lesser units, perhaps. Either way, it is a Tower Victory, and it will be the School of Cavalry. No kind of huge surprises about that. Early wheelbarrow coming in as well for the French, I suspect, relatively soon. And of course, Wheelbarrow is researching for the deli, as you'd expect. It's a free technology, so free is free. You're going to have to, right? Now with the back gold, the French have had a nice spawn here. No real kind of easy walling capabilities, but back gold is always welcome for the French, of course. Quite reliant on that for the Knights, but I mean, we have also been seeing an increasing trend of gold spawns being forward, and even if that is the case for the French, they can always you can always make horsemen. You get the mobility. Obviously, they don't pack as much of a punch, but you get a bit more mobility actually for your buck. Either way, the great thing for the Delhi Sultan in this matchup in particular, I'd like to comment on, is the Ghazi Raider. The +2 attack bonus against heavily armored units actually makes them trade a lot better than the horsemen would against the French Royal Knights, and so, especially with the movement speed advantage that the Ghazi Raiders have, they can kind of pull the strings a little bit in the mid-map if they do start to engage. Of course, one thing you have to be wary of, the Knights coming around the back and just one-shotting your villagers. Speaking of which, going around the back, the berries are at the back, which is a nice spot for the Delhi, because they do want to be on that for a pretty long time and make sure they get all the food from it. Does have efficient production, the technology for the Delhi that does increase the production speed of military buildings by 100%. When you have the scholars inside, and he does have just that. And here comes out the first Ghazi Raider. LaSh moving out on the map. The Knight going to be coming out relatively soon as well for Sassy. There's the first, and the second one popping out relatively soon, going around the back onto the berries. Ghazi Raider moving forward, and so the scout just going to keep an eye on things, and I'm not so sure if actually LaSh spotted that Knight. But he's got to know that's there just by the timings, right? Got to be wary. Knight going on the west side just in case Ghazi Raider does pop through. It does pop through, so Sassy spotting that the fact that the Knights need to be here, or at least one does, to stop the villagers being killed and slaughtered. Goes around the back, all picking off a villager nice and early there. Nice pick off there by Sassy already. French doing French things. We've all seen this happen before, time and time again. The French going with a cheeky snipe on the villagers. Wheelbarrow now is in for the French. Ghazi Raider needs to be careful. The charge is coming in. That's why the Knight's actually catching up with it. But once the charge runs out, the Ghazi Raider will be able to get out of there. Thankfully. For him. Going to add a barracks follow-up. So Spearman on the menu. And the big thing about this actually is that it hurts the French in a way. It does push them away from the cavalry type of play, which they love to do, because if the Spearmen do catch up, if they can force a fight the Delhi, the Spearman with the extra 20% attack speed, the Ghazi Raider with the +2 attack bonus on heavily armored units, it's a decent combination for sure. Either way though, Sassy in the early game going to stick to the Knights as you'd expect and try to get as much value as possible. But bearing one thing in mind, we're heading to the 7-minute mark, and there's obviously no sign of scholars popping out to the sacred sites just yet, because of course he's had to actually get sanctity researching in, and he can't make a scholar before. Well, he could potentially, but you don't really. I mean, you're going to need sanctity for the sacred sites to be capped, so he's having to stay at home. But I love the fact he's healing on up here, LaSh, with his scholar. Again, that's another little bit of a bonus that the Daily get, and it's a nice one at that. I like the Palisades as well, keeping that wood line safe and secure. Gorge, of course, a map where the wood line at the back is a singular wood line. You know where exactly it's going to be, so you're going to know that it's going to be a target. Welcome in, Fenris and Averly. Hope you're doing well, buddy. And guys, if you're on Twitch chat and you didn't know, a lot of the maps that actually been generated for Age of Empires 4, a lot of them have been made by Averly. One in particular I can remember is Bridges. So a big shout out to him. He's created some maps that created some really enjoyable moments in Age of Empires. So a big thank you to you, Mr. Averly. Double archery range as well. Adding in that for the French as he typically expected. Actually add in a barracks as well, just because of the Ghazi Raiders. Oh, Knight's going to charge on in. Oof. Okay, well, it takes the charge on in, but Ghazi Raiders are decent numbers. And also the Spearmen. I mean, ultimately, the Spearmen numbers, Sassy can't really push into that. And LaSh going to push it away. They're going to start to cap that sacred site in the middle of the map relatively soon. And there it is. It's captured. Oh, he's taking the fight. He's trapped in a Knight and the Scout. Big picking off. He's taking out 2 knights as well, which is huge. Knights do not come cheaply, ladies and gents. So losing that is massive. Really nice start to this game for LaSh, I've got to say. And now because of that, LaSh can start to go around the back and try and do some harassment of the economy. SaS is going to need to take into other units in the archer range. I like to see it because it's going to deal with the spearmen. This is kind of a weird situation, right? Where the Delhi Sultanate with the tempo aggression that they have and the double production with the efficient production also kind of means that they're the ones that are playing cavalry. It feels like the French are almost suddenly start to transition into archer spearmen. Guys, raiders and spearmen grouping up together. Oh, Sassy, the villagers. No, no, no. They cannot be heading out there now. Not this time. There's a couple of archers there poking and prodding against the spearmen. The Gazi raiders going to get on top of that. Sassy in all sorts of trouble. Villagers have to back away. And taking one bad fight in the middle of the map, they can cause problems like this. Another knight going to go down to the spearmen. Getting great value here, LaSh, for sure. Gazi raiders about to engage. Sassy can't engage that just yet. Doesn't have the military mass. And you can see like he's having to keep the knights back and they're not getting value for him. Rather, it's the spearmen and archers for the French heading on out. And it's always a bit of a precarious position when the French are doing this, right? Not being able to play the cavalry play. But something that Delhi's been forcing them into. Central sacred site has been capped and is being defended by spearmen, going on the right side as well. With the sacred sites being brought in, LaSh has 2 options. Of course, could drop a market to try and buy food and wood using the gold that he has in excess. Could even think about maybe, not now, but a little bit later in the game, maybe posturing towards that castle age, but it's a little bit too early because actually Sassy getting some good pickoffs now. Those knights going to be chasing them with the Ghazis. Spear might actually turn around there and fight for Delhi because he's going to lose them anyway, potentially. Fight, 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 fight. No, maybe not. Going to try and ride on home. See how far I can get. The Ghazi raiders will survive, and I think the spearmen there are just going to buy some time for the Ghazis to get out. 2 sacred sites in play, though, for the Delhi. That's something that Sassy will look to try and deny. Going for the deer camp on the back and walling it up. Taking the pocket economies, and that's actually a big part of the French play, right? They do not want to be farming anytime soon. And so the Delhi, with 2 sacred sites, might start to target the free sources of food on the map. And the big concern for Sassy is that, sure, this one's safe, and there's a couple more deer still left, but once that runs out, this deer camp's pretty far forward. The boar is right in the corner of the map, as you'd expect on Gorge anyway. That's maybe something that Delhi might look to exploit with the mobility of the Ghazi raiders. This is a scary moment as well because the efficient production now at this point, he's effectively got 6 production buildings. Obviously he's physically got 3, but they're double producing effectively here at this point in terms of speed. And he's going to place that market up. So it's going to be heavy feudal age pressure and aggression for LaSh. And with siege engineering going to be free for them. Of course, everything is free for them in terms of tech. It's quite likely he's going to push in with rams relatively soon. Well, on the right side, knights heading in that position. We'll deny that sacred site unless the units start to head on out. But spearmen will take some time to get their Ghazis. Oh, he's going to spot this. This is rough because this is actually kind of rough. If LaSh actually keeps a couple of Ghazis here and a couple of Ghazis on the north entrance, then he's pretty badly trapped. And he's going to focus on the south gate first. So if Sassy wants to retreat, he's going to have to go around here. And what he could potentially do is try and repair, but also try and wall in here, buy some time to get his units across, but he's going to lose his villages if he doesn't get across there now. Going to get a secondary wall. Sacred site decapped with a knight. Going around the right side to get some value. Try and get some villager kills on the economy. Does get the walls up in time just about, but wait. LaSh is a bit of a trap actually. Spearman engaged. This is massive for Sassy. LaSh just hung out there a little bit too long, loses a couple of Ghazis, and archers will maybe take out one on the retreat. No, doesn't quite manage it. And Undermesh is in play for the Delhi, and that certainly helps in that fight. Knight dies a terrible death on his own, a very lonely death. Now the sacred site going to be capped once again. Ghazi raid is going to dive on top of that wood line. Needs to be careful. Those villagers could be massive raiding here. No, he decides to ride on past, and understandably so, because there are a couple of spearmen and knights. Oh, villagers and bearers have to be careful. Will LaSh commit to that? No. Putting the villagers towards the army. Wait, go back to berries. Go back to work. Oh, engages with 2 knights. Actually, the guards will be pretty happy with that. Trying to get surrounded in a trap. Spearman numbers looking good. For the Delhi. cavalry pretty obsolete in this particular fight. Only one left anyway, to be fair. Spearmen mostly for the French and a couple of archers. Now, this could be a good pick off a couple of spearmen as they retreat. Can't get quite close enough, though. Around the back. Knights picking off a couple of villagers that were going... Oh, wait, LaSh has not spotted this. He's going out to the deer camp and he's going to be harassed heavily. The army don't follow that, but this is a massive picking off. LaSh is losing a couple. There's only a couple of archers. The Knights just commit to this. There's only one Ghazi raid. There is one spearman now, which will help, but I think SaS will be happy with this. Continues to take the villagers, I suspect. Oh, LaSh is not putting away. He's got 2 spearmen now. And I think if SaS can pull away the weak Knights, he could get chivalry to heal him on up, but he might lose a couple. He will lose 1. He loses 2. He does ride away with 2. Keeps his alive. If he does get chivalry, at least can heal him on up. He's still banging on this wall here on the west side, though, the Delhi. Will engage us here down the southeast. Archers need to focus on the spearmen as much as possible. There's a couple of horsemen, though, for the Delhi. The Ghazis, really. They could get on top of the archers, and if they do, it could be problems. Good number of archers for the Delhi as well, actually, to be fair. With the extra attack speed, of course. Going to get multiple outposts if they can get there, but they can't quite. There's one knight harassing. The knight picked up all these units. LaSh not... Oh, wait. Spearman? Sassy. I guess he doesn't want to engage that, of course, just in case they take him out, which they would. But LaSh still a decent number of units, and he's got 2 sacred sites. Look at the gold he's got. He's got plenty for... I think he probably just buys food with it, to be honest. Archer numbers focusing on the archers there as well. French versus Delhi on that. Spearmen backing away. A couple of knights building up once again. 4 of them on the field in this particular screen. 9 in total. Spearmen still looking to try and torch down, but it will take a bit of time. A couple of knights sniping out the scholar. Big pick off there, considering, of course, it's not all that easy to make those scholars from the one mosque. Sacred site on the right side could be decapped. Pretty evenly poised game, but as things do start to progress, I mean, ultimately the French do have more villagers. Their economy will scale a little bit quicker, of course, compared to the Delhi, but the 2 sacred sites, or the 1 sacred site now, has held him a bit of an even keelter on that regard. And chivalry coming in now to heal up the weak knights, of which these 2 guys in particular will definitely benefit. Starting to group up in the middle of the map. But again, not been able to challenge these 2 sacred sites all that much in terms of taking them off, because they're still in the grasp of the Delhi. Does engage with the spearman and archer, so we'll pick that off there, the French, eventually. Coming around the right side, and I wonder if the Delhi will start to commit to palisade walls, actually, just to keep hold of the sacred sites a bit longer, because it has been deactivated a few times. The Delhi with plenty of infantry. And now he's starting to take the pocket economies, berries, and then the deer camp. Got plenty of outposts as well for garrisonable spots if he needs it. Now the Delhi's starting to move in the middle of the map. Now he will have access to siege engineering now. 200 wood per ram. Possibly being made. It looks like maybe LaSh could be thinking about a big push now. Does have a large military force. Doesn't seem like he's banking any resources for the castle age himself, but plenty of knights there for Sassy. Holy moly, it's actually kind of incredible he's afforded so many. Well, we are needing to see that farming transition, right? 18 minutes on the clock, and food is starting to run out on the map. Getting the boar now, which will be pretty decent. But long term is going to need that farm transition. Oh, there's one Ghazi raider there. Did get the 2 outposts, so the Ghazi raider will go down, but the Delhi will know about this. The Knights going to chase it away. Archers backing away. The Knights could actually gap close this. Spearmen might turn around and fight for the Delhi, though. If they do, that could be problems. He's doing that. The archer numbers for Sassy. If he focuses on the Spearmen and get the numbers down, that could be huge. He's focusing on the archers for now, because they are what's in range. Oh, 2 Spearmen go down, and the initial engagement with the archers. That's massive. He's starting to make a big push on here, Sassy. Could be a big fight for him. 2 Knights do get snared by the Spearmen, though. That's pretty big. Ghazi Raiders not too big on numbers, and Spearmen aren't that many. For the Delhi, he's got mostly archers. This is actually looking quite problematic. The Knight numbers looking to really start to overwhelm, and He needs more spearmen here, LaSh. He might struggle here a little bit. We'll have to see if he manages to push this one back. Spearmen are pushing the knights back a little bit, but he's not engaging too quickly. He's engaging now, but the spearmen numbers aren't what they used to be. And it looks like the French are focusing on them exactly. Keeps the knights alive for now. He charges in once again. Gazi raid is down to 0. None of them remain. Spearman numbers are down. This is not looking good for LaSh. He's got lots of knights. And SaS going to get the charge on in. Going to keep the weak ones behind. Archers versus archers. He's actually not committing here, SaS. He doesn't feel confident about it. I mean, ultimately, the Deadly Soul's on it. Archers just are straight up better with the extra attack speed. But I'm surprised because there's no spearmen there against those knights. He's just looking to heal them on up. Wants to pull him away from the defender's advantage a little bit, I suspect. SaS starting to regroup with a significant villager lead. It's looking solid. The Delhi don't have any of the sacred sites. This has been a great pushback by the French. He waited for the timing where the economy could feed the army. 20 minutes of the game. SaS is actually looking in a good spot. Now it's about to charge on through. So are the Ghazi Raiders. Spearmen, though, in good numbers. He needs to take them out, though, the French, if they can. If the Spearmen numbers do go down, that'll allow the Knights to do what they want to do. Ghazi Raiders get on top of the archers there somewhat. He charges in with the Knights once again. The LaSh is starting to push this back a little bit. SaS not too confident taking the fight just yet. I'm a bit surprised because he does have Knights with wedge rivets. He's charging on then. The big problem with the Spearmen, right? He needs to focus fire on those. If those go down, the Knights will take better trades for sure. He's starting to charge in once again. Now the Knights are tanking a lot of the damage, at least from the archers. The Delhi are on the retreat now a little bit. Try to get the central sacred site. Can't manage it just yet. There's a lot of units here for the Delhi. 55 versus 34. I think all of a sudden those knight numbers aren't looking what they used to be, and same with the archers for the French. I think he doesn't quite have enough. I think part of the reason why is because of the farming transition that's slowly being needed. Got plenty of wood coming in. Delhi's alternate gets the central sacred site. And has just stuck in with the stable barracks and archery. Hasn't needed to put anything more. I wonder sooner or later the Delhi will need a farming transition themselves. Deer camp almost taken out. Can't take the boar, of course, and the berries are gone. Starts to take the fight. Ghazi Raiders diving on in. Nice backing away. They are healing up, which is nice for the French for sure. Let's take the sacred site of the north. Adding another stable. Lots of production buildings, and you can see the base building as well. Possibly looking to get a keep there in the castle age if it does get there. On the right side, Knights just harassing villagers as much as they possibly can, but riding on through, not being able to get too much value with the outposts that are there, and garrisoned in for those villagers. Now LaSh, with the gold coming in from the sacred site, has got plenty of food. He might be posturing towards the castle edge, and actually SaS might be thinking the same thing. This could be dangerous actually for both players. Who's going to commit first? And what will they go up with? SaS, will he go with the Royal Institute? Will he go for the Guild Hall? We do see a lot of players going for the Guild Hall, but with how aggressive Delhi Sultanate can be, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Royal Institute, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's going for the Royal Institute, he's going for the castle edge play. And the big thing is, I actually quite like that, because I suspect what the Delhi are going to do as soon as he does get the tech up here, SaS, I suspect LaSh might... Actually, maybe not. He's going to wait up for his castle age tech ups as well. One thing to bear in mind, though, is the tech ups for the castle age for the Delhi, the power up isn't as quick as it can be when you have a huge standing army, because ideally what you want to do is you want to get the veterancy, right? You want the veterancy for the Ghazis, you want the veterancy for the spearmen, you want the veterancy for the archers. It takes a lot of time, and of course that time is dependent on how many scholars you have, and when you play for the Tower of Victory, you tend not to have that many scholars, and in fact, it doesn't really. And so the research speeds are going to be very slow, but what the Delhi can take advantage of is the highly armoured units, whether it be lancers or man-at-arms, even crossbows, not necessarily highly armoured, but anti-armour. That's something maybe the Delhi have to do. The French, on the other hand, their tech-ups are pretty quick. Going to get the veteran Royal Knights in 20 seconds, veteran archers, and also wedge rivets to deal with the attack coming in with the archers for the Delhi. Now he's getting another barracks and an archrange, another stable. So really start to commit, getting a mosque as well. Maybe look to pick up some of those relics if he could, actually. If he had a couple of scholars here on the map, could have picked them up. And he doesn't quite have them just yet. And Sassy walling up heavy. Looking to play a bit more defensively. I would love to see Sassy contest the relics, though, because Delhi with relics can be a tricky situation. Sassy just leaving an archer behind on the central safe site to take it on out. And Royal Bloodland's going to be coming in about a minute and a half, actually. So I'm not so sure if Sassy wants to totally engage with this, actually, before that upgrade comes in. Because, I mean, ultimately, the big institute, the Royal Institute going for that, the big play for that, it is for those upgrades. Compound of the Defender will give him access to cheaper keeps here for the Delhi, but no stone mining coming in. Village Fortresses is being researched, and he's going to just torch down and get the army active, I think. I don't think necessarily Sassy is going to engage before he has to. But he does have the Ventracy on the archers, so could possibly do so. An elephant on the field for the Delhi. We love to see the Elephantos. Ghazi Raiders are in good numbers, but I mean, he's taking the fight with the knights, and probably rightly so. I mean, he's got a good few spearmen though, the Delhi. So he's got to be careful, but the veterancy on those archers doing so much damage to the Ghazi Raiders. This is actually looking pretty bad for the Delhi. The spearman charging on through, but every time he charges on through, he loses numbers. That allows the knights to back away, and they might start to put on a bit of a fight on in. Now, with a lack of spearmen, the elephant could be okay with his army for the Delhi, but the archers focusing on the infantry first. Spearman numbers still looking decent, charging with the knights, and doesn't want to engage with the elephant just yet. He made an elephant, but I'm not so sure he's going to win this fight. Overall, the archer numbers starting to dwindle a little bit. Knights going to get us around on the elephant, but the elephant is pretty good at dealing with knights. He's taking the fight here, Sassy. Only has one skull healing on up, and if the elephant goes down, I think this could be game. LaSh and the Delhi struggling in a big way. The French coming in with a big power spike with the Royal Institute, with the veteran units, takes out the elephant. Villagers now exposed on the farms, and there it is, LaSh taps out Sassy, coming in with the victory, the third in a row to pull it back from a 2-0 deficit in this show match. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a fantastic one. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. I loved it. And if you're watching on YouTube, take care and see you next time.